Hi everyone, today let's talk about FedPal's comments. Then we'll take a look at some of the data and charts. I do have to get going here a little bit, but I'll give you some thoughts here right before market close. Do me a quick favor and like and subscribe and watch the video till the end to help out the channel, and let's get started. So FedPal indicated that interest rates are to come. He said the time has come to adjust policy, and this is way more dovish, honestly, than I expected. We talked about it yesterday. I didn't think he would be this forthright this early, but so far he is. He said it's time to adjust policy. We did see it in the Fed minutes. Most of the voters said it was going to be time to cut in September. So I guess it's not super crazy, but we have not heard it directly from FedPal until now. In terms of market reaction, the Russell liked this a lot, and the Russell's rallied a lot. The Nasdaq jumped briefly, but gave it all back, and it's hovering and actually falling slightly while I'm recording this. And then inflation data has definitely declined significantly. Labor market not overheated. Supply constraints have normalized. Basically all of the things he wants to see, minus inflation getting back to that 2% range. So he thinks it's time to cut a little bit. Like we talked about yesterday, there is chance of a 0.5 point cut. I still don't think that's going to happen. I think we're going to get a 1/4 point. And then we'll see what happens over the next coming year or so. How many cuts are we going to get in that time period? And how is that going to affect markets? Remember, after that first cut, markets are typically pretty bullish for about 6 months. And then as we continue to see cuts come in, markets actually tend to trend down. Overall, though, pretty dovish comments. And then for the rest of his comments here, he said inflation was a global phenomena, so it wasn't just isolated to the United States, but the FOMC did a good job adjusting their policy, and that he has learned much from the experience. So overall, very dovish, and I think we can now price in a 100% cut for September. Moving over to fear and greed, you can see we're at a 52 from a 47, so markets have actually moved up slightly. S&P is pretty flat, but the Russell is moving higher. NYSE is still in fear there, but breadth, big move up. We've been watching breadth. This is the 200 SMA breadth, which actually eclipsed this most recent high and actually held a higher low here, which is interesting. We'd been seeing this kind of slow grinding downtrend, but now that is shifting slightly, so maybe markets are going to hold up a little bit better. Saw a big down day yesterday, big reversal, but maybe the news today is going to give it a little bit of a shot in the arm. We saw the VIX trend a little bit lower here today so far, and then safe haven demand sitting in regular fear, while junk bonds continue to hover in extreme fear. So looking at the S&Ps so far, you can see we've actually had a positive day, but we just continue to touch this trend line here. We've rejected from it 4 days in a row now, and we just can't seem to get above it. We've filled the gap, probably not going to go above this upper trend here at 5650, even if we were to break out a little bit. Momentum stepping down again here, so that's telling me that this rally is culminated here in my opinion, at least for the short term. Could dip down, touch the 21 all the way down in the 5400 area, and then rally higher, but definitely in the short term, I think we're pretty much done here, looking for some more down moves, establish a base, and then we'll see what happens after. RSI is still bullish, but the SMA is down there. That's probably what's going to happen. And then looking at it on the short term here, you can see we got a rally after hours yesterday, rally pre-market this morning, big wick high on the news of the rate cut from FedPal, and then we gave all of that back, hit VWAP. It's trending up a little bit okay now, so maybe this sees a little bit more rally into the end of the session, momentum bullish on the hourly chart, so it looks okay there, but daily chart again showing that this is pretty much culminated. We're sitting just above that 560 level, so based on that you would look for a 565.16 level for your next price target, and that's assuming that we close above this level here. It's certainly possible that we just give all of this back and then trend back towards that 554.87 area. And then similarly here for the Nasdaq, you can see we gapped up and we've dojied. We couldn't get back to these previous highs in the trend line. Momentum still says that it's stepping down. RSI looks the same as the SPY, so still hanging in there. Found some trend support in here yesterday around 19,500. Doesn't mean that this area is going to hold. Looks like we're going to get an inside candle. We have not moved really at all after the gap, so pretty interesting there. Still think this is a topping pattern and potentially going to roll to the downside. 21 EMA sitting there at 18,970. And then looking at it here on the shorter time frames, again, big wicks up on the news, touched those levels, rejected immediately, held some lows, so it doesn't look awful, but right now we just can't seem to get back up into that zone. So markets still just cannot rally in my opinion. Looks like we're going to be topped out. The risk is certainly to the downside after the rally that we've had, and you can see momentum, same thing here on the Qs. In terms of levels, you got 477.69. That zone is still holding right here. But if that breaks, there's a lot of room down to that 471.93 area. You do got the 144 EMA sitting there at 472.96. And then here on the daily chart, you got the 55 sitting in here at 473.93. So some support zones in here right in this area. But overall, I would expect this to continue to roll to the downside, especially after yesterday's big down candle. Moving over to the Russell and the Dow, very different thesis here. You can see huge candle up, 3% up right now, momentum bullish, RSI bullish. Went right from this level through the next and right to the trend line, and that's where it's sitting. So trend resistance is having an effect, but overall still very bullish here. I would expect this to push up to that next one eventually in the 229.60 area. Volume also coming through. Russell continues to be the outperformer, looks very good. And then looking at the Dow, just cannot seem to get above this trend line. You've been here for 5 days, and that's where we're sitting again. Momentum did step up a little bit, not the same as the SPY in the NASDAQ, but that is trend resistance, which is also the highs back here from 1 August. So we'll see if this can push. If it can, that would be 417 or so, but this continues to be resistance here. Moving over to Apple and Tesla, Apple inside candle, pretty much like everything else, but momentum 3 days in a row seems like that's going to continue. And if it does, this is going to be a top. It's a very slow pattern here, but it's going to roll in my opinion, which is going to be a lower high. And then look at Microsoft, not even following the same pattern, down 0.33%, momentum stepping down. It's right at the level. If this zone breaks, you got the 200 there at 409.43. And then if that goes, then we're headed back towards these previous lows in my opinion. And that would also take you through the RSI here right in that zone. So we'll see how it plays, but this is important. And if it doesn't hold here, I think we're going to see some much lower lows. Moving over to staples and discretionaries, these actually hung in there okay today. Staples down 0.02 right now, and then discretionaries 1.79 to the upside. Gapped and rallied here. We're almost to this previous high. 189.38 is the next level. Momentum bullish. So discretionaries doing all right, especially compared to the rest of markets today. And then moving over to RIOT and Marathon, these continue this little bullish kind of swing here. We thought we might see consolidation, but it turns out we're going to see a little bit more bullishness. 3.48 and Marathon, big move here, almost 10%. Headed right to the level. 1878 was there. We haven't touched it yet. The next trend would be up around 1924. So this looks good. Momentum bullish, RSI bullish, especially after the big down move. Doesn't mean we're not going to establish a lower high, but in the short term, this does look pretty good. And then moving over to the dollar here, you can see, as you would expect, it did crater quite a lot, 0.8%. Took out these trends. Next trend supports all the way down at 99.9. Momentum bearish, RSI super bearish. Big selling. This is again holding up equities at least a little bit. But I think without this huge dollar crater, markets would have gone much lower, but as long as the dollar continues to crater like this, markets are going to hold up okay. And the comments from Fed Powell, of course, are not going to be strong for the dollar. Moving over to JNK and TLT, both of these having a good day. JNK, big gap to the level, through it now. 96.80, huge move. 97.68 is the next level. Momentum bullish. Overbought conditions for the first time in a very long time on this indicator. The last time would have been here in December, and now we're rallying again to new recent highs, so very strong there. And then TLT, 0.5% or so up. Still looking for a push to this trend or up to that 100 area. Momentum not going with it quite yet, but the structure is still bullish, and I still like both of these to the upside. Moving over to the MOVE Index and the VIX here, you can see both of these are down so far today. MOVE falling quite a lot actually. Sequential lower highs, probably going to go lower here. And then looking at the VIX, gap down and fell slightly. It's still holding that 55 EMA at 15.7, so market's still a little bit volatile. It hasn't cratered back to these previous lows by any means. I still think this is probably going to hold and spike at least one more time, but it needs to wait for the dollar to stabilize in my opinion. And then looking at my accounts, you can see I'm up about 500 going into the end of the session. I'm in a short-term bullish trade with some 479 puts. We'll see how that plays out. Not looking to hold those to expiration. They're hovering around break even right now, so we'll see how it plays. It's in a consolidation. I think we might see a slight break. And then looking at my positions here, you can see covered call rolled this out to 216 for $4 credit, so we're basically already at that max profit. So markets have been super bullish in the IWM. And then looking at my covered call position, rolled that up as well, 474 for $13 credit with the big push that we saw today. No issues rolling this out, eventually trying to get out of the money and let this expire worthless and collect that credit. And then looking at the long term here, I sold some 42 days at 492 for $7 each. Again, I think we're going to see a medium term downtrend, and I just want to help cover myself with that. So short term, looking for a little bit of a pop, maybe even into the end of the session, but over the next couple days and even into that medium term, still looking for more downside. Let me know down in the comment section what you thought of FedPal's comments and that rate cut coming in September. We've been talking about it. We thought it was coming, but now it's basically locked in. Is that what you expected, or was he way more dovish? Definitely like and subscribe if you got any value out of this video, and make sure you hit the bell so you don't miss out on any future episodes. Of course, none of this is financial advice. This is all for entertainment purposes. Good luck in your trading and have a great day.